It's Friday, the 12th of June, 2026. The time, as always, is 10 past tomorrow. And right now, I'm going to record a video that I actually wasn't planning on writing or releasing. This week, I actually had a whole other essay planned and three-quarters written. And then on Monday, Anthropic released a model that they are calling Claude Fable 5. It's a little bit of a confusing name because it's actually part of the Mythos class of models. Mythos, most of you would have been hearing about over the last 6 weeks or so. The famous model that was too powerful to release by Anthropic, has now gone through all sorts of post-training, and they've shipped it. And they're calling, as I say, they're calling it Fable. I've been using it for about 48 hours. And so the caveat that I have to say is this essay is going to feel a little less polished than my usual essays. It's kind of me just thinking out loud. I've got a few notes, but it's me thinking out loud on camera on purpose. I think the more considered view will come later as more and more people start to use this model. But um, I guess why am I doing it? Why am I doing it so rough and ready 48 hours after it's been released? Um, I've literally been hands-on with every state-of-the-art model since the original ChatGPT moment uh, in November 2022. In fact, I was experimenting with the GPT models before what was known as ChatGPT. So when ChatGPT 4 came out, that broke the mold. GPT 4.5 was a big step up as well. The Claude line took over for a little bit there, then the Gemini line of models pushed ahead, and all of them, um, I've been testing them and experimenting them over the years because it's quite literally my job and the job of 10 past tomorrow. And so I'm going to frame this up by saying this is the single biggest leap that I've seen in state-of-the-art model from one day to the next. There hasn't been a leap like this that I've experienced. So maybe let me tell you what I've done with it, um, to see and feel what I'm trying to transmit to you. So many of you will know we run a 10-month transformation program for senior leadership teams. It's called Path to AI Emergence. It helps senior leadership teams transform how their whole company works with AI operationally and strategically and culturally. It's 10 months of content. So week after week, content to guide senior leadership teams, right? There's briefings, there's workshops, there's exercises, there's demonstrations, there's tools that we build. And so it's the biggest body of work that I've ever built for 10 past tomorrow. So the first night that I got Fable, I gave it one brief because the initial reading that I had seen with the release notes were, don't use Fable on your small day-to-day jobs. If you do, you won't really notice a difference in the power of it and the experience of it from the models we've already been using. The description actually quite literally was, it's like a space rocket with hyperdrive warp speed that can get you to the other side of the galaxy in 20 minutes instead of 20 light years. And you use it for jobs like that. You don't just use it to drive to the shops. So I was thinking, like, what's a task like that I can do? And so I gave it my entire 10-month content plan with all the tools and designs and imagery, um, everything for the entire 10-month content plan of after AI Emergence. And then I said, these are the top 15 to 20 AI commentators that I follow and I respect the most, right? So Ethan Mollick and his wife, Simon Willison, Paul Reitzer, those type of people in the world, the people whose judgment I put a lot of faith in. And it just went. It was like 7 o'clock at night when I set it going. I went to sleep. I woke up early the next morning. I woke up at 5 o'clock actually to go to the airport and jump on a plane. I'm actually recording this from a hotel on the Gold Coast. It worked for another 3 hours while I was on the airplane. In New Zealand, they've shut that. You can't use their Wi-Fi to watch movies, but you can use it to run powerful coding agents by the looks of it. They might want to close that loophole. But so it worked for about 7 hours overnight, another 3 hours while I was on the plane, and then another 2 hours when I got here to the hotel, all autonomously, independently, without checking in with me. And what came back, honestly, I don't know what words to use other than mind-blowing. Section by section recommendations on where the program can be strengthened, reference against the actual published thinking of the actual people that I named, but then creating these tools, creating working, functioning web-based tools with the coding in the background and system prompts that it had written itself, a whole new suite of imagery and GIFs and screenshots, AI imagery that it's created, and like a pedagogical review of how I had put the whole program together, where refinements could be made, and all with the analysis of how does it tie back to the whole 10 past tomorrow ecosystem, pulling in references to content and other courses and programs that we have. So like I estimate that if I'd done that work myself, even with Claude Opus 4.8, which up until 2 days ago was the best model on the planet that I'd ever used, that would have taken me 3, possibly 4 weeks. And so that's the shift. Me working with the model, the best model on the planet, 3 to 4 weeks, has now gone to a great brief and giving it all access to all of my ecosystem. It can work autonomously for 12 hours and do far better work than I could have done. Now, my next note is about balance, because one of the things that's super important to me and to 10 past tomorrow is that we're not hype, we're not doom, we're always grounded and balanced. And so I do know, like 48 hours in, a lot of excitement is maybe when I should like distrust the initial thinking. But so what are the downsides of this? Like first, it's expensive. It's like roughly twice the price of Opus, so it soaks up your tokens quickly, right? And for everyday tasks, like I said, it's overkill. You don't take a walk, drive down to the dairy. Um, so and this lines up with the early reviews that I've read, is that it's brilliant for the big stuff, but just you don't use it for the small stuff, and you actually don't even notice much of a difference. Um, there's like I'm still thinking through like what does the verification process look like here? Like that was 12 hours of work where I couldn't watch it. You know, like you can see what more you can see a shadow of what's happening on screen um, as it as it works in front of you. But there are thousands and thousands of small decisions that must have been made over those 12 hours that I never saw or had any input to it. So um, Ethan Mollick, who you will know I follow very closely and recommend, he made the analogy. He said up until having Fable in his hands, he felt like the state of the art models was like being a wizard. You could conjure up magic, magic spells. Now he says, and I kind of agree with this, you almost just feel like one of the townsfolk now, and you're asking the wizard, like, can you possibly do this thing for me? But you don't have any idea how the magic happens now. So what I'm getting at is like we always talk about human in the loop and refining and adding quality and quality controlling the output. Um, I'm not sure what that's going to look like now that the models are this powerful. Um, and yeah, and there's the last part that like this part actually did wake me up this morning thinking about this is um, actually there's one other note here that um, so, some of the reviews are saying within teams who have had access to this model that their most capable people with AI are getting like step change evolution out of the work that they're doing with Fable, whereas those who are less skilled and less AI literate and are struggling to find uses for it because they're not in that mindset of using AI for whole workflows. That's still, if you're using it just for task by task, um, it's ineffective for those people who are less AI literate. So, um, look, this is my reflection from me. I'm one person in a small 3-person business at the bottom of the world. I'm just trying to get my head around the power of work that this system can do with me and for me. I just cannot see that there's a version of this where now that these models have arrived, that it can't possibly affect the hiring plans of every company who have these tools, right? And I'm not predicting mass layoffs when I say that. You know that I'm not a doomer. You know that I've said things like people in organizations move much slower than these tools, and that's still correct. And that friction um, and that gravity does slow the evolution down of the job market. But when one capable person with these tools, can do literally what took weeks with what was the state of the art models a few days ago, can now be done autonomously and independently by a model that can work by itself for 12 hours continually, and it writes the brief, it does the research, and does the work, and then quality controls the work, and it's very senior work. It it just makes me ask myself, how can this possibly not affect hiring plans and the way we construct our companies and our organizations going forward. So um, this is where I am 24 hours in. It just to me like hammers home the people in the companies who have been doing the work over the last few years, who have been learning these systems as they've been getting more and more powerful. You are in a place, those people will start to exponentially pull further ahead with these models. And so it's sharpening my thinking. We really the mission 10 past tomorrow's mission spread our literacy and AI skills more broadly and more deeply throughout New Zealand. To me, that's just more ever pressing and ever important. Um, I'm going to spend the rest of this week working Fable really hard on all sorts of real benchmarks, and our benchmarks are basically the real work that we do within 10 past tomorrow. We have certain workflows which we always test the new models against. So I'm going to be clocking the good and the bad and where it fails, all of it. And next Wednesday afternoon, which is the 17th of June, from 2 to 3 p.m. I'm hosting a free open discussion, and I hope it is a discussion, not just me talking. But I'm going to compare notes on what a full week of using Fable has taught me. I don't think I'll even prepare any slides. There won't be any pitch. So if you're trying to work out what this release means for your organization, then please come along, bring your questions. If you're using Fable, then I'd love for you to be on the call. If you're skeptical, bring your skepticism. And the other part to this is I just can't see OpenAI being behind for long. The rumor mill is very strong that they will release GPT-6 within days rather than weeks. And so that is just going to raise the game and change the landscape again. So yeah, last thing, it's very important not to chase the hype. It's very important not to get consumed by the doom. I've been doing this long enough that uh, that's the important part. But this is truly, truly impressive. Like waking up this morning and seeing the work that it had done throughout the whole night, and then 5 hours later after a flight and getting to this hotel room, uh, it's kind of it is the equivalent of that feeling of if you remember the first time that you ever saw ChatGPT working. I'm not sure exactly where this is settling. I don't think anyone does. It's too early, but uh, I wouldn't want to be making big people decisions this year without having spent time getting your heads around this model first. So there you go. I don't know how long it was. It was intending to be short and organic, but there's a lot to say and a lot to get our heads around with this release. So questions, thoughts, reflections, commentaries, skepticisms, please put them below this video. Find me over on LinkedIn. Um, I'd love to engage in conversation over there. This is a big one. And so I'd love to hear how you're getting your heads around it too.